Welcome. This is Pastor Dan Smith, and this is God Talk. I'm so excited every week I get to come and talk about the character of God. I wish I could see you. I wish we could sit down and talk about it. But this is the way TV works, and thank you for being part of LOBN and giving me a chance to talk about God. We'll wrestle with an issue today that's been around a long time. If you've watched the show at all, you know my favorite verse is John chapter 10, verse 10. Thieves come to steal, destroy, and take life, but I came to give you life. And if we can take that verse as really saying some ultimate things about God, He doesn't cheat you, He doesn't take life away, He comes to give you life. So that's our theme and what we stand for, what we believe. How to play that out now with some of the great questions of salvation. There were 4 men flying on an airplane. It's an old story. Maybe you've heard it here with me. There were 4 of them, and the plane is starting to go down. The pilot says, we're going to crash. We've only got 3 parachutes, but they're my parachutes, so he takes one and jumps. Next man says, I'm the smartest man in the world. I'm studying the cure for HIV and cancer. The world needs me, I need one. He jumps. Left is an old pastor and a Boy Scout, and the old pastor says, young man, you take the last one and jump. I already know God, and I've already lived a long life. You go ahead. And the Boy Scout says, don't worry, pastor. The smartest man in the world just jumped with my backpack. Does it matter what you believe? There are those who say to me, Pastor Dan, God doesn't care what you believe as long as you have a heart for God. Well, your heart for God will depend on what you believe. Your picture of God will affect your soul and your relationship with Him. So it does matter, I think, what you believe. Is God the kind of God who says, you better do what I say or else? And that's what many people believe. You come to Genesis chapter 2, 15 to 17, and God says you can eat of any tree you want, except this one tree, the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat of this tree, you shall surely die. Was God threatening divine punishment to say, this is so serious? I cannot just go sit in the corner. I cannot just fine you a little bit. Can't put you in jail for a little bit or put you on probation. I'm going to have to kill you. Is God saying, love me or I'll kill you? You better do what I say or else. And how is this different from the other pagan views around the world? You sin, the gods get angry. And they go away and they don't bless you, they don't think about you, they're not involved with you, they don't help you, or they're punishing you. And if you want to change the gods, you're going to have to give them food or flowers or money or sacrifices, offerings. Do something hard. And maybe the gods will, okay, change their mind. Or is God saying at this tree, if you eat of the tree, you will surely die? Is He giving Adam and Eve a loving warning? And He's basically saying, I'm the only source of life in the universe. I didn't decide that. I didn't make a decision. It's not the way I set it up. It's just the intrinsic reality of the universe. I'm the only life there is. And if you want life, it's only derived from me. If you choose to live on your own and go away from me, it's your right. I will respect your choice. But you will surely die. Please don't do that. Is the cross and is this eating of the tree and the consequences punishment from God, a justice, wrathful God? Or is it a loving warning of a God who says, this is the way it is, my friends, be careful. I was just in Chicago for a big reunion in our church where I was at before at Hinsdale. Sat down with a friend of mine named Dr. David Mayer. He's still a doctor in an ER medicine there in Chicago. He wrote a little book, and he had told me this story personally, but it's in the book. I can't tell it his way, but here's the gist of it, is that he was in the ER one time when a man came in with his wife, little old lady. She's wheezing and coughing and sneezing and just in trouble. And evidently had some pus coming out of her eyes. Her arms were like blue. They laid her on the bed. The doctor comes and says, boy, can I help you? You don't look too good. And they get some oxygen and hook her up to some oxygen, try to get some color back in her because she's blue. He said, you're not good. He asked her, are you a smoker? Yes, I need a cigarette. Said, lady, you can't smoke in here with all this oxygen around. You have got to quit smoking. We need to check you into the hospital. You're about ready to die. You are blue all the way up your arms. You are not good. No, I didn't come in for that. I came in for my eyes. I got this pus in my eyes. Fix that. This is normal the way I always am. I said, lady, you're going to die. I'll help your eyes, but you're going to die. You're going to have to quit smoking. We'll check you in the hospital, get you oxygen, and get you healed up. Smoking has to stop. No. To make a long story short, she had emphysema. He knew how to mimic her voice as raspy smokers cough. Finally, he said that he didn't know what else to do because she refused all treatment for the rest of her health except for the eyes. They had to give her a form and have her sign herself a release that she was refusing treatment. And he said, I stood at the door as her husband walked her out of my ER. And I was saying, please don't go, you're going to die. And she was saying, I need a cigarette. Help me find a cigarette. And that's one picture of what God is saying at the tree. That God is not the one who is saying, love me or I'll kill you. God is saying, please don't leave. You're going to die. Don't do this. Stay with me. What does this mean for the cross? As we try to wrestle with the questions about this great center of Christian belief. What did Jesus do on the cross? Why did Jesus have to die? I've always used a little crazy story from Dan Rather, used to be the anchor man for CBS News. He's old now. I read his book, Camera Never Blinks. When he was a young man in college in Texas, he worked on a one-man radio station. If you put your 8-hour shift, you would have to leave to go get something to eat. He would put on a 30-minute sermon and go get something and get back before the 30 minutes was up. So one day he put a Baptist hellfire and brimstone sermon back then in Texas, jumped in his car, went to get a sandwich, came back, owner's car's in the driveway. Walked in the door, where you been? I went to get a sandwich. Do you know what happened while you were gone? Somehow that sermon's record had a scratch in it. And that Baptist preacher had gotten stuck saying over and over again over the hills of Texas, go to hell, go to hell, go to hell, go to hell. Too good to be true. So that is a true story. Nobody wants to go to hell. And this Baptist preacher was saying they were going to go to hell if they didn't accept Jesus dying on the cross. Cemeteries all over the world have crosses. They don't have money, they don't have passports, they don't have your house or the degrees after your name. They put crosses because they know that's the only way you're going to get out. What is it about the cross that's going to get you out of hell? Why would Jesus have to die? How does one man die for everybody? Is that fair? Someone commits a rape, you don't let someone else go and be punished for them. They have to do it. They're the criminal. This whole idea of substitution, how do we understand the cross? There was a group of boys who would get together after church. They'd go to one corner of the parking lot and they would tell jokes. They had certain stories and jokes. They just loved these jokes. And they told some of the same stories over and over again. And they loved those stories and they would all laugh. But after a while, someone got the idea, hey, We know these stories. Why take the time to tell the whole story? We know the story. So they gave all the stories numbers. So number 33. They knew number 33 was really good, so they would laugh. Oh yeah, number 33. The problem is, after a while, they couldn't remember what 33 was. They knew 33 was funny, but they couldn't remember what it was. And has that happened in the cross? This is part of our religion. We know the cross is central. We hang the crosses up on our church. We've got one right here. They wear it around their neck. We love the song. We sing the songs near the cross and the old rugged cross. We sing these songs. But do we really understand what it means? And we're never going to solve it all. We're not going to understand it until we're in heaven and have an eternity to ask God more about it. But how to try to understand the cross without having said some things about God that aren't very nice about God. You know the story of the bridge, famous little movie someone made. This man was in charge of a bridge. And during the day, the bridge would be open and the boats could go through, but once in a while they would have to move the bridge so that the trains could come across. That was his job, to move the bridge for that. So one day he went down there to move the big gears for the bridge. Horrified, looked down the train tracks, and there was his son. Loved his son. His only son that did everything together, surfing and golfing and hunting and fishing and all the rest. He yelled at the son, "Go back, the train is coming." But the wind was going the wrong way, and the boy could not hear, kept coming. Poor guy had a terrible choice to make, a train of strangers or his only son. Can't let the strangers die, hundreds of them. Turns the big gears, tears streaming down his face in the movie. Train of strangers goes rolling across. They have no idea the drama's happening in a little shed over here. Man came out to look. Train tracks are empty. Boy's gone. And we tell these stories, and the cross is absolutely central to us. But what does it mean? Why would Jesus have to die? And over the 2,000 years, they've come up with various what we call models or doctrines, atonement theology. And the most common one is that somewhere along the way, God had to decide. Sin was too serious. Sin was an offense against God. God is the God of the universe. He's the creator, and you sin against him. There has to be a price for this. God's honor has been damaged. And in the olden days, if your Lord was mocked or his name was damaged in any way, your Lord is offended, it was your honor and your responsibility to go over and wipe out the other people who had said this about your Lord and get satisfaction because the honor has been offended. So people latched onto that idea that our sins are an offense against God. His honor has been offended, and he needs to be appeased, pacified, satisfied, a whole group of words that have been used. And so Jesus had to come down to satisfy God, the honor of God, pay the price to satisfy God. Well, people wrestled with that. Is God really the problem? Is God the one who is hung up about his honor, what people think about him? So much so that he has to have his own son die to satisfy his honor. When he sees the blood now, he's okay. Is God the problem, or is our heart the problem? Is it God's heart the problem, God's mind that needs to be changed, or our mind and our heart that needs to be changed? Which way is the cross focused? Is the cross to win God's heart and mind over to us, or is the cross to win our mind and heart over to God? You think about the prodigal son story. This boy leaves the father's house, goes to the far country, ends up with the pigs, finally decides to go home. What's the point of this story? The point of the story is for the disciples and for you and me to learn something about God, to change our picture of God. God is this kind of God. No, He is a Father who will always take you home. You can always go home again. Preach that all over the world. The point of the story there is to win us back to God, not to win God back to us. What about the story of Hosea? People want to know about that story. Great story in the Old Testament, one of the classic stories. God asked Hosea to go and marry a prostitute. Come on, God. She's a prostitute. No, I want you to get her. He brings her back. They have a baby. She runs away, cheats on him again. Okay, that's it, God. No, go get her back. Bring her back. God, I don't want to bring her back. She's a prostitute. She's sleeping with other men, God. Bring her back. Over and over again. It's what they call an acted parable. An acted parable that God goes into history and He has this little story and He acts it out. And He wants the world to hear a certain truth about God. And God will always take you back. No matter how many times we commit adultery away from God and we go to other gods, God will still take us back. And God says, I will always take you back. Please, could you just be faithful to me? Well, it says in Revelation 14, 144,000, they're just married to one, faithful to God. No more adultery, no more apostasy. It's an acted parable. And if you ask anybody, I've asked lots of people, who is the audience for the story of Hosea? Is God the audience of the story, or is it for Israel? Everybody knows it's for Israel. For Israel to understand the truth about God. He is not this Old Testament fierce, wrathful justice God. God is a God who will always take you back and will always forgive you. Even the God of the Old Testament. And Brian McLaren, wonderful pastor for many years in Washington, D.C., spoke right here at Loma Linda one time. We all got to go to a special meeting with him. Wrote an article in a book where he wanted to discuss the cross. And after discussing Hosea and this idea of an acted parable, he said, could it be that the cross of Jesus is an acted parable? That God is the same kind of God, that God is trying to use this story of Jesus as a drama. The purpose of the cross is not for God. It's not a drama for God. It's a drama for us, to win us back to God, the ultimate drama. The traditional model is that we have all sinned, and God has made death the penalty for sin. God's the one who sets up the rules. That's the way it is. Sin is a transgression of the law. Someone has to pay a price. We've all sinned. We all deserve to die, but God is not willing that any should perish. 2 Peter 3:9, so He sends His Son down, and God takes the wrath that should have been on you and me, and He pours that wrath down on Jesus. So God is the one the cross is for. Is that the best we can do? Is that the deepest understanding? But a whole generation of theologians and pastors have said, maybe that isn't the best. Maybe that isn't the final answer. If it works for you, okay, but if it's not, what do we have to say? Do we really want to say that God the Father and God the Son are on opposite sides of this? Do we really want to say that God is split between part of Him that wants to be loving and forgiving and part of Him is wrathful and angry and justice? And Jesus Himself said that God the Father didn't kill Him. He said, no one takes my life from me. I lay it down myself. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? What if the cross wasn't our offering to God? What if it is God's offering to us? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. It's the giving of God. God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself. Are we reconciling God back to us, or is God reconciling us back to God? And the story of Hosea would say God is doing this acted parable, the ultimate drama, to win us back to God. Prodigal son is to win people back to God. Who is supposed to see something new when Jesus dies? Is the cross so that God will now see something new about you and me? Or is it so that you and I can see something new about God? Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. What is the purpose? Why did Jesus come? It's so that we can see the truth about the Father. The blind man said, I was blind, but now I see. So could it be that the purpose of the cross is for you and I to see some things about God? The veil ripped from top to bottom, not so that God could see out, but that we could see into the truth about God. We can come boldly to the throne of grace. You don't have to be afraid. So the cross is the ultimate drama, the ultimate acted parable. And the cross is for man. It is to win you and me back to God and to teach us certain realities about the universe. What happens when you sin? Does it cause God to separate from you, or does it cause you to separate from God? Paganism says the sins cause God to separate. Gods get angry and the gods go away, and you've got to do something to win the gods back to you. Or sin make you and I separate from God, and we leave, and God has to win us back to him. And Jesus goes into the garden and he said, let me show you what will happen. And somewhere there in the garden, he takes all of our sins. My sins, your sins, everybody's sins from the beginning of the world till the end. He takes those sins vicariously. He feels the guilt as if he's committed those sins himself. Every rape, every murder, everything. Chuck Colson tells a story of going down to the prison in Brazil where all the prisoners have become Christians. They took Chuck Colson down. They said, you want to see the worst criminal in the place? Yes. You're not afraid? No. Got down to the door, the big heavy door. You sure you're not afraid? No, I'm not afraid. Open the door. And here's the worst criminal in the place. It's a crucifix. Christ hanging on the wall. And the man says he's doing time for the rest of us. Christ takes all of our sins. There in the garden, he sweats blood. Desire of Ages says he clung to the ground to keep from slipping away from the Father anymore. Sin is killing him. He's been preaching a loving and kind God. He's been with God forever. Now he can't find God anymore. God hasn't changed. God hasn't moved anywhere. He says, nothing separates you from the love of God. I change not. Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. The sins did not change where God was. The sins changed Jesus' perception of being able to find God. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Can't feel God anymore. Sin changes how you can feel the reality of God. Jesus dies on a cross, hoping that you and I will learn. Sin will kill you. Heard my cousin Gary Venden say at a Cridwood Camp meeting this summer, sin is lethal. Sin is lethal. Sin will kill you. And God is hoping that you will learn, not because you sin and you die thousands of years from now at the end of a 1,000-year millennium. Because when you die, then there's no more learning anymore because you're dead. How does God figure out a way for people to learn the reality of sin and death without them dying, which means they cannot learn anymore? And Jesus dies as our substitute in the acted parable. And he says it's going to be like this. I've used several different stories for this over the years. I'm a scuba diver. Let's say we go scuba diving to somewhere and we're going to scuba dive in a shark cage so we can see the sharks. So we're lowered inside this shark cage and we're taking pictures of these sharks that are swimming all around. But all the pictures have the shark cage in the pictures. So we get back on the boat. Call our off-gassing time. You're having to rest up before you go back into the water. And one of the guys says, hey, I heard that it's possible that if you're careful, you can dive without the shark cage. We throw a little meat over here and the sharks will go over there. You slip into the water, take your pictures, get back on the boat. And wow, it's going to be an adrenaline rush. Be in the water with sharks, without the shark cage. Our dive instructor said, are you guys crazy? These sharks are man-eating sharks. They will kill you. You will die. Please don't go into the water. But some of the guys are crazy enough. They go ahead. They're beginning to gear up. Our dive instructor doesn't know what else to do to teach them this reality. Grabs the tank, jumps in the water. In about 3 seconds, those sharks are all over him and ripping him. Blood's everywhere. We grab him and pull him back in the boat. But he dies. Now no one dives with the sharks. Now they know. Sharks will kill you. Sin is lethal. Jesus doesn't want you to die from your sins. So he said, let me die for your sins. Learn from me. Sin will kill you. Sin is lethal. And learn the heart of a loving God who says, I'll be the one to send a substitute down. Our God is a loving God. He is not the one who says, love me or I'll kill you. If you eat of the tree, you will surely die, because God's going to be the one. Our God is a loving God who came down and said, be careful. If you go away from me, I'm the only life there is. You will surely die. When we went away, he tried to find another way to teach the lesson. Sent Hosea, told the story of the prodigal son. But he goes even farther in the ultimate story, in the ultimate drama, the ultimate acted parable, and he has his son come down himself. Dies on a cross, takes all of our sins. He said, here's what happens with sin. It's another way to understand it. And can we say with the blind man, I was blind, but now I see. I see.